When I found out my wife was sleeping with my younger brother, I didn't confront them. I smiled, planned in silence, and destroyed them both on the night of our family dinner. I never imagined betrayal would come from the two people I loved most. Growing up, my little brother Jake was my shadow. 3 years younger, always trailing behind me with wide eyes and big dreams. When our parents passed away while we were still in our 20s, I became more than just his brother. I was his guardian, his mentor, his only family. I paid for his college tuition, helped him find his first job, and when he hit rock bottom during COVID layoffs, I told him, "Move in with me. You'll always have a place." He moved into the guest room in our house, my home, the one I shared with my wife, Lauren. Lauren and I had been married for 6 years. We met in grad school. She was the kind of woman who made rooms feel warmer just by being in them. Funny, empathetic, the kind of person who remembered everyone's birthday and brought cupcakes to work just because. I thought I hit the jackpot when she said yes to forever. At first, everything felt fine. Jake was quiet, respectful, grateful. He kept to himself, paid for groceries when he could, and offered to help out around the house. Lauren said she liked having someone else around. "It's nice not to be alone while you're working late," she'd smile. I didn't think much of it at first, but then came the late-night talks in the kitchen that would stop the moment I walked in, the quiet laughs between them on the back porch, the shared inside jokes I wasn't part of. And slowly I started noticing the small things, like how Jake stopped calling her Lauren and started calling her Lo, a name only I used, or how she started wearing makeup at home, even though she never used to unless we were going out. I wanted to believe I was overthinking. I wanted to believe that the two people I'd given my heart to, one as a brother, the other as my wife, would never do something so vile. But the unease started eating at me. There was one night in particular that gnawed at me. I came home early from work, around 6 p.m., unannounced, and found them sitting shoulder to shoulder on the couch. The lights were dimmed, wine glasses on the table, a movie paused on the screen. They jumped apart the moment they saw me, fumbling to explain it was just a movie night, nothing weird. I smiled, said nothing. That smile, that was the moment I decided to find the truth, not with anger but with clarity. The truth didn't need yelling, it needed proof. From that night forward, I started watching closely. I became quieter. I started noticing their patterns. I started reading her text messages when she forgot to lock her phone. And one day, I found what I was looking for. A phone, a photo sent to her from Jake's phone, taken in my own house. That was when something inside me went cold. I didn't scream. I didn't confront. I simply stood there, phone in hand, heart breaking, and then hardening. Because in that moment, I made a decision. If they were going to betray me quietly, then I would destroy them quietly. And so, the plan began. The next morning, I stared at myself in the mirror for a long time. Not because I was broken. I'd done that already, in silence the night before. But because I needed to see the face of the man I was about to become. I wasn't going to lash out. I wasn't going to throw furniture or demand answers. They weren't worth that kind of chaos anymore. What they had taken from me, my trust, my dignity, I would take back piece by piece, quietly, precisely. So I started with control. I made excuses to come home early. I studied their movements, every shift in body language, every whisper through the walls. I opened a new bank account in a different bank and gradually began transferring our savings out of the joint one, dollar by dollar. I took screenshots of every suspicious message I could find on Lauren's phone. I backed them up. I cataloged the dates, times, locations. I became methodical, emotionless. And then I hired a private investigator. It felt surreal, sitting across from a man in a dull office, sliding him a folder of printed screenshots and whispering, "I think my wife and my brother are having an affair," under my roof. He didn't react, just nodded, took notes and said, "I'll get you what you need." Within a week, he delivered photos, hotel receipts, a video, and them kissing in her car at a gas station just 15 minutes after I left for a supposed work trip. Another video detailed them leaving a motel together at 2:14 a.m. I watched it all in one sitting, lights off, drink in hand. I didn't cry. Not anymore. Something inside me had calcified. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was a court case, and I was preparing my closing argument. The next phase was cutting them out of everything without them knowing. I called my lawyer, had a divorce agreement drafted with evidence attached. The infidelity clause would work heavily in my favor. He told me it was one of the most airtight cases he'd ever seen. I updated the deed to the house. I'd bought it before we got married, so it was mine by default. But I made sure every legal crack was sealed. I also removed Lauren as my emergency contact at work, switched insurance beneficiaries, canceled all shared credit cards, and stored copies of every legal and financial document in a hidden folder on a cloud drive only I could access. And through it all, I smiled. I made dinner like usual, asked how her day went. I fist-bumped Jake on his way out of the door to go see a movie. I watched them lie to me again and again, rehearsing their performance like I hadn't already seen the finale. Then I planned one final family dinner, a little get-together under the pretense of celebrating my promotion. I invited everyone, my cousins, my aunt and uncle, family friends, even my boss. And of course, Lauren and Jake. They were both thrilled. I watched her hug me tighter than usual that morning. She whispered, "I'm so proud of you." I almost laughed, because in just a few days, she'd never look at me the same way again. The day of the dinner arrived with eerie calm. I'd never been so composed, not on our wedding day, not at my father's funeral, not even when I first watched that grainy motel footage of my wife in bed with my brother. Because today, I held the power. Lauren spent the whole morning prepping the house, humming to herself while she set the table with our finest silverware. She wore her favorite blue dress, the one I bought her 2 anniversaries ago. Jake popped in around 3 p.m. with wine and charm, cracking jokes like he hadn't burned everything down behind my back. I kept smiling. Around 6:30, the house filled up. My aunt brought dessert. My cousin handed me a bottle of bourbon with a slap on the back. My boss offered a toast when he walked through the door. Everyone was relaxed, enjoying wine, laughter, small talk. And then I stood up, clinked my glass, cleared my throat. "Everyone oyen," I said, letting the hum of conversation fade. "Thank you for coming. I know I said we were here to celebrate my promotion, but that was a bit of a white lie." Some chuckles followed. Lauren giggled, nudging me playfully. "But really," I continued, voice steady, "I wanted to take this opportunity to share something deeply personal, something I have been carrying for a while now, and I thought it would be fitting to do it surrounded by the people who mean the most to me." Now the room was silent. Every eye was on me. I reached for the remote on the coffee table. The flat-screen TV behind me flickered to life. A blank screen, then a video file labeled Truth MP4. Lauren froze. Jake's smile faltered, and then the first image appeared. A still shot of Lauren kissing Jake in her car, followed by another, them entering the motel. Then a video clip, them holding hands in a parking garage, thinking no one could see them. Gasps echoed through the room. My aunt dropped her wine glass. My boss muttered, "Jesus Christ," under his breath. Lauren's hand flew to her mouth. Jake stood up suddenly, as if trying to block the screen. "What the hell is this?" I looked at him with calm, icy eyes. "That, Jake, is you and my wife at Motel 72, room 114, on at least 7 separate occasions." Lauren's voice cracked. "Please, can we talk in private?" I shook my head. "No, you made it public the second you did this under my roof." I turned to the crowd. "Some of you may be wondering why I didn't blow up earlier, why I didn't confront them or pack up and leave." I looked back at Jake. "Because I wanted you both to know what it feels like to be exposed. Not in a text, not in an argument, but here, in front of the very people who thought you were decent." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a thick envelope. "Lauren," I said, "this is a copy of the divorce papers. My lawyer has the originals. You'll find everything has already been split, except for the house, which is still in my name. You'll need to be out by the end of the week." She didn't say a word. Tears welled up, but I saw no regret in her eyes, just embarrassment, shame. I turned to Jake. "As for you, I think Mom and Dad would be proud to see how far you've come," I said, voice calm but laced with fire. "I took you in when you had nothing, and you repaid me with betrayal. You're no longer welcome in my life, or this family." And then I sat down. No yelling, no violence, just silence. And in that silence, I took a sip of wine, the only sound in the room. The dinner was over, so was everything else. After that night, Everything changed. The house, once filled with laughter, footsteps, and the soft clatter of daily life, became painfully quiet. But for the first time in months, the silence felt like freedom, not emptiness. Lauren moved out 3 days later. No fight, no dramatic apology, just boxes packed in a hurry, eyes avoiding mine. I didn't help. I just watched as she loaded her life into the back of her sister's SUV, wearing sunglasses she didn't need. It was raining. Jake didn't even try to reach out. Word got around fast. My family, once divided in subtle ways, came together in support. My aunt sent over meals. My cousin offered to crash on the couch if I needed company. Even my boss, who had never seen me outside of spreadsheets and deadlines, pulled me aside at work and said, "You handled it like a man, like a king." But even kings bleed when they're alone. There were nights I'd still hear echoes of laughter in the halls. I'd catch myself setting the dinner table for two out of habit. I'd look at the couch and see them sitting there again, not as lovers, but as memories I was trying to evict. The emotional whiplash was real. Some days I felt powerful, like I'd taken back control. Other days I felt like a fool, duped in my own home by the two people I should have been safest with. So I turned inward. I got back into woodworking, something I dropped years ago because life got busy. I reached for the remote on the coffee table. The flat-screen TV behind me flickered to life. A blank screen, then a video file labeled Truth MP4. Lauren froze. Jake's smile faltered, and then the first image appeared. A still shot of Lauren kissing Jake in her car, followed by another, them entering the motel. Then a video clip, them holding hands in a parking garage, thinking no one could see them. Gasps echoed through the room. My aunt dropped her wine glass. "I miss you. Please, can we talk?" Delete. Another number. Another voicemail. Jake this time. "I messed up, man. I was drunk. I didn't mean for it to happen. You're my brother. Please." Click. Blocked. They didn't deserve closure. Closure was mine to keep, mine to carve. And I did. Not by holding on, but by letting go. It's been 8 months now. Lauren moved back to her hometown. From what I heard through the grapevine, she's alone. Jake left his job and has been crashing on couches ever since. No one wants to look him in the eye anymore. I'm not celebrating their downfall. That's not who I am. But I am celebrating something else. The man I became after being broken. Because sometimes you don't need to scream to make a statement. Sometimes you just need to stand still while the world realizes what it lost. And that's what I did. People always ask me now, would you do it the same way again? I think they expect me to say no, that I'd scream at them, throw them out the moment I found out, that I'd confront them in a fit of righteous anger and reclaim my pride by force. But the truth, I wouldn't change a thing. I didn't need a scene. I didn't need to shout, break plates, or make it to the front page of some tabloid-worthy argument. What I needed, what I chose, was control, dignity, stillness in the eye of the storm. Because when you've been betrayed by the people closest to you, the worst thing you can do is let them take more of you, your peace, your self-respect, your ability to walk away without lowering yourself to their level. So I stayed quiet until I didn't. I waited until they couldn't hide anymore, and I walked away without turning back. Looking back now, it wasn't just about revenge, it was about rebirth. About reclaiming the parts of me I gave away too freely. Trust, patience, blind faith. I had to rebuild not just my life, but the belief that I could be whole again. And I am. Not because someone new came into my life and fixed me. No, I fixed myself. I found joy in small things again. My morning coffee, long walks, a new bookshelf I built from scratch. I found comfort in knowing that the truth always comes out. And when it does, you'll be ready if you've already made peace with it. And there's power in silence. There's power in planning. And above all, there's power in choosing your reaction carefully, especially when everything inside you is screaming for chaos. So to anyone watching this, if you're carrying a betrayal, a heartbreak, a silence so heavy it feels like it could bury you, I want you to hear this. You are not weak for being quiet. You are not stupid for trusting someone who broke you, and you are not alone. You get to choose what your healing looks like. Whether it's walking away without a word, or standing up at a dinner table and telling the truth in front of the world. It's your story to write. And trust me, when you come out on the other side, you'll be more than okay. You'll be unshakable.